We're back with Heather Beer from the Valley Christian Counseling Center talking about having that sex talk with your kids. So what if you make your timeline and you set your goals with your child about having sex, and then something happens anyway and they come and say, I either got somebody pregnant or I am pregnant myself. Then what?
Well, and that's the thing. Life happens and everybody makes mistakes. And that's where love and grace just have to come into play. Nobody's perfect. And you want a child who's made a mistake or who's, had something really big like this happen is going to need a lot of support, a lot of encouragement, a lot of love, and just to know that their parent isn't going to give up on them. You haven't just blown it for, this has wrecked our relationship and wrecked the rest of my life. It doesn't have to be that way.
Because now more than ever they need you there in order to learn how to be a parent.
Or to make a choice to make an adoption plan, because that takes a lot of strength as well. And so really, it's interesting that MTV did a study I think it was in the early 2000s, wondering what teens' #1 influencer was. And when they got the results back, it was mom and dad were #1 and teachers were #2. And they were so surprised because they thought it was going to be, whoever the pop star, that they actually redid the survey and it came up the same again. And so parents really need to take that to heart. They are important to their children, whether or not their children act like it. Because what 15 or 16-year-old really
it's going to give you credit for anything.
Mom, will you just tell me, what you think about all of this? And, that's probably not going to happen. And so you do need to seek them out. But I think that teenagers, when you have a pretty good relationship with them and you do seek them out to talk about these things, they're going to respond, because even though, it's kind of awkward and, a little weird, but they value that you value them. That. I think that's kind of the key.
Here's what seems to be maybe with the toughest conversation. You've had the sex conversation, sort of had this unspoken agreement that I'm going to wait, and all of a sudden you find out, wait a second, my daughter has had intercourse with somebody. How do you bridge that conversation and give them the space to actually want to communicate about it?
Yeah, well, you have to let them know that no matter what happens, you're always going to love them. And it's not about punishment at this point, because what's the point? It's about keeping the relationship strong, because that's really the #1 thing. No matter what happens to her, if she's pregnant, if she's whatever, you want the relationship with your daughter, because in 10 years, in 20 years, she is going to be probably married with grandkids and all, all of this thing. And even if there's the grandchild from when she's 17 or whatever, no big deal. That's just, okay, plan B, this is, we're gonna roll with it, and I think it's easy for parents to say, oh, you have to wait until you're married to have sex, and not know how to have the support and the conversation about it. And so that's when it gets kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Legalistic, I guess, in terms of, okay, this is just the rule, and that's it.
Follow it,
and if you screw up, then that's just too bad. But I just don't believe that that's going to work. I mean, Nancy's Reagan campaign, just say no. We know that doesn't work. It's all about the relationship. It's all about how parents support their teens and the relationship that they have together. Can the teens trust? Because you really want to be the expert in their eyes. That's why you want to have this conversation from when they're little, all the way along while they're growing up, so that they see you as the expert and they trust your opinion.
And keep coming back to them, right? At different stages.
Absolutely.
And broaching the subject.
Yeah. And it's really great if the kids come to you, but if they're not coming to you, say, specifically, if your kid hasn't said anything by kindergarten, you got to start then, before they get into school. But then if it's into the teen years, you just got to make sure that those talks are there and that relationship is there.
Heather Beer, always a pleasure having you on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We'll be right back.